Hi everybody and welcome back to Be Like Christ. Today's video, we're going to deal with Matthew chapter 6 verse 19 and 20. Jesus says, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on the earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." A lot of people have a tendency to view God as the cosmic policeman. He's just up in the sky making rules and forcing human beings to follow them. And many people, when they come to this verse, all they see is a command. But what I want to show you in this text is that there's actually an offer here. Jesus isn't just making a command, he's making us an offer. And it's a tremendous offer of grace. And being able to see the offer of grace in this text helps us to realize and to remember that when God directs our lives in some way, He always has our best interest in mind. Underneath this command, there is an offer of God to safeguard our hearts. Jesus points out in verse 21 that our hearts are intimately connected with our treasure, or the things that we value. And so as goes your treasure, the things you're affectionate about, so goes your heart. And there's a danger in that, especially in living in the world that we live in. And that is because if part of your treasure is destroyed, you're also going to lose part of your heart. And the offer that Jesus is making is actually one to prevent that from ever happening. Because it does happen. It happens all the time for people who put their trust in temporary, physical things. People make wealth their treasure, and all that they desire is to become wealthy and have a large bank account. But sometimes the stock market crashes and they lose everything, or maybe they get sick and they have to give it all away paying for medical bills. Other people really treasure influence. They see themselves and want to see themselves as an influencer of other people. But especially in our culture today, people lose their influence very quickly, sometimes for things that they did years and years and years ago that come back to haunt them. And then they're finding themselves as an outcast and rejected by society, and all their influence is gone. Other people put their treasure not in something that they have, but in something that they create. Their talent to create artwork or music or something beautiful. But those things can be stolen, they can be destroyed, and what then do we have left? And another example is people who put their treasure in other people. Maybe it's their family members, maybe it's a spouse or their children, and all of their treasure is wrapped up, and all of their heart is wrapped up in those people. The problem is that sometimes we lose those people, sometimes unexpectedly. Sometimes they're not here as long as we thought that they would, and when that happens, our treasure and our heart can be destroyed. When this happens, people come out with a damaged heart. They begin to question the meaning and the purpose of life. They question whether life is worth living anymore. And they can lose all the direction in their life and just wander around aimlessly or fall into depression for months or maybe even years. Why is that the way that people respond when these crises happen? Well, it's just what Jesus says. As goes your treasure, so goes your heart. And keep in mind while we talk about these things, that these things aren't always the fault of the person who's going through the tragedy. It's not always the fault of the person who's losing their treasure. It's just a result of living in an unpredictable, volatile, sinful world. And this is where we begin to see the words of Jesus, not just as a command, not just as God governing our lives because He likes the authority, but as a beautiful offer. Because Jesus is offering something that is out of reach of the destructive and ever-changing world. He's saying if you make the right kind of investment, if you put your treasure and therefore your heart into the right kind of place, an ever-changing world is no longer your concern. Because rather than squirreling away our treasure in a bank account that can be touched by greedy or selfish people, or in another human being that is susceptible to the destruction of bacteria and disease, or in anything physical that can be stolen or destroyed. Jesus is giving us an opportunity to store away treasure in a place that cannot be touched by sin, by greed, by hatred, by germs and sickness. His opportunity is to store up your treasure with Him, and with His Father, and with the Spirit, and they will be the ones who safeguard your treasure, and therefore your heart. And when we're storing up that treasure with Christ, then we can let the world rage around us, and we can endure times of suffering. We can endure times when our loved ones are taken away from us. We can endure a stock market crash. We can endure when we are shamed and rejected by other men. And we can endure when the creation of our physical hands and our physical efforts doesn't amount to maybe as much as we would hope. Because no matter what temporal things we lose, Nothing can touch what we're about to gain. And this is how Christians can have the peace that passes all understanding that the Bible talks about. And that they never have to be disheartened, because God holds in eternity with firm grip the deposit and the investment that you have made in Him. And there's not a thing that is going to take that from Him. He holds your treasure, therefore He holds your heart. And there is no sin, there is no devil who can take it from Him. Hi everybody, and thanks for watching the channel. I've really loved making these videos, and I've been really appreciative of the encouragement that I've gotten from all of you. Have a comment, drop it down below, and hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, do that and hit that little bell notification. That way it'll tell you every time a new video comes up. And so I'd love to have you as a subscriber. I'd love to take a journey through the Bible, studying it together with you, and I will see you next time.